distinct pleasure of singing the national anthem for you. I'm a 13-year Army veteran.
Woo!
And I would like to honor all the veterans here today. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare of bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the brave and the home of the brave?
Review sáng sớm một xíu. Good morning. Xin kính chào quý vị. Hôm nay là ngày mùng 3 tháng 3 năm 2023. Ba lúc bán lên. Cho nên sáng hôm nay cũng là ngày thứ ba trong cái cuộc của một event của CPAC quý vị. Hôm nay là ngày thứ ba của ngày CPAC luôn. Thì chúng em đã có 2 ngày rồi và 2 video đã show cùng quý vị. Thì hôm nay là ngày thứ ba, thì cũng là một ngày bắt đầu mới cho ngày thứ ba này. Cũng là một ngày mới cho ngày bắt đầu của ngày thứ ba này, cho nên chúng ta phải tiếp tục theo dõi để cho những cái cuộc hành trình hôm nay nha. Bây giờ chúng ta tiếp tục đi ra cho một ngày mới của ngày thứ ba cho cái CPAC này. Morning. Đó, chúng ta ra đây. Đây, hello em. Good morning. Sao rồi? 2 ngày qua ngủ có khỏe không? Hả? Có gì muốn giới thiệu tới mọi người không? Chào khán thính giả chút xíu nào. Không chào luôn hả? Giận rồi hả? Ok. Đó, quý vị đứng trên này chúng ta nhìn xuống này quý vị. Bây giờ là đang còn là 8 giờ sáng quý vị. Thì mọi chuyện bắt đầu chuẩn bị thôi. Breakfast, mọi chuyện đã ready. Ok, mình qua này. Mình đứng trên này mình quay xuống cho quý vị thấy nha. Đây là khu vực của sáng sớm một cái ballroom quý vị, đó đi thẳng vô là ballroom, chỗ của những người speaker. Còn bây giờ mình đứng phía trên mình nhìn xuống cho quý vị thấy một ngày mới nó như thế nào và một ngày này bắt đầu từ đâu. Đó, quý vị thấy không? Khu vực dưới này là dành cho breakfast quý vị. Những người đến đây ăn sáng xong thì sẽ là vô tiếp tục cho ngày hôm nay. Thì hôm nay chúng ta sẽ nhìn thấy được có những gương mặt mới cho trong đảng Cộng hòa sẽ đến đây và speaker cho ngày này như thế nào thì chúng ta hãy chờ đợi nhé. Đó, bây giờ phạm vi chúng này như vậy. Sáng sớm quý vị thấy không, nhìn xa, nhìn qua phía bên kia đường quý vị là quý vị sẽ thấy là phía ngoài quốc lộ luôn quý vị. Đó, xa lộ 95 đó, đang đi đó. Đó, phía cầu đó là nếu mình đi về hướng đó thì mình sẽ đi về lại của Washington quý vị. Washington thì nó nằm về cái top ngay đó quý vị kìa. Đó, chúng ta sẽ đi về hướng đó. Ok quý vị. Một buổi sáng, ok, view một chút xíu buổi sáng quý vị nha. Rồi chút xíu nữa chúng ta sẽ vô trong ballroom. Chúng ta sẽ nghe, hôm nay chúng em sẽ ngồi trong đó và sẽ nghe tất cả các hạ viện và thượng viện sẽ đến đó nói chuyện như thế nào. thì chúng ta những con ra cho Đảng Cộng Hòa sẽ nói chuyện nha. Chúng ta hãy cùng nhau nghe và những cái kế hoạch người ta sắp tới đưa ra như thế nào cho năm 2024 này. Em rồi, giờ xong rồi phải không? Rồi, cho em nói vài câu đi.
Xong chưa? Anh chào anh Mẫn.
Ok, rồi đi, let's go. Hả? Okay, good morning quý vị. Hôm nay là ngày thứ 3 của ngày CPAC quý vị. Chúng em đã gần đến đây và chuẩn bị vô ballroom để nghe speaker hôm nay. Đó. Họ sẽ đi vô đường này. Hello. Hôm nay là người ta vô, người ta chết cái vậy. Chị thấy không? Đây là cái dạng buổi sáng sớm, những điều người ta chuẩn bị ready cho ngày hôm nay là như vậy đó quý vị. Ta sẽ thấy tất cả mọi người sẽ đến đây. Quý vị thấy không? Một buổi sáng rất là tấp nập như vậy đó. Chút xíu nữa là đông lắm quý vị. Chút xíu nữa là cái đường này đi là không có đi luôn đó. Phòng này là phòng Thomas Creek, ABC. Good morning.
Very nice.
Thank you. Wow, still early. Excuse me, ma'am. What time does they start speaking?
I think it's 8:55. I thought it was
Okay.
originally 9 or
So
10,
9.
but I
All
think
right.
it's 8. You know, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you.
It keeps changing.
Okay. I can get in there to get a seat, but ok. Chúng ta vô đây. Quý vị thấy không? Sáng sớm. Đây là sáng sớm trong CPAC. Giờ này là chưa có ai ngồi hết trơn quý vị.
Good morning.
Morning. What's it for the silver light?
So silver is here in this back.
For the last row?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have the silver seats. You can see
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like your vest.
Thank you, sir.
It's like going to a museum looking.
Yeah. Everything in here. All together.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So proudly held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the
Sebastian Gorka.
Good morning! This is the hardest of the hardcore MAGA, right? This is the OG. This is the 8:55 in the morning CPAC crowd. I am very, very impressed. Are we excited? Are we ready to listen to my old boss tomorrow?
Yeah, my boss.
You know, DJT, 45 and 47. A little bit more enthusiasm. 45 and 47.
Yes! Woo! My boss. Yeah.
We're gonna have fun. It's always fun to have the boss here. CPAC is where we come to do what? To recharge our batteries as patriots who love this, the greatest nation on God's green earth. That's why we're here, okay? And as I was talking to my buddy in the backstage little green room, Chris Coles, great guy, you should watch his channel on YouTube. It's called Mr. Reagan. I'm very envious he has that channel, Mr. Reagan. You know who he's talking about. He said, we are here to send a message. I want to know what you should talk about on the stage today, that there are good people left in this country. I said, yeah, they're right here. They're right here.
Yep.
So I want to salute you for never giving up, never giving in. Do you remember what Rush said? There's a cut I use on my show every week. It's one of the last things Rush said to us before he left us for a much better place. Rush said, somebody emailed the show and said, Mr. Limbaugh, is it time to despair? Is it time to give up? Is it over? What did Rush say? He said, never. Americans never give up. We never despair. It is un-American. Did the founding fathers say, oh, it's the British Empire, it's the biggest in the world? Can't beat those guys. Did we say, oh, look at what the Nazis did in 1939, just ran over the whole of Europe? Did we say, oh, look what they did to Hawaii in 41 or Manhattan in September the 11th? Did we say, oh, that's just too difficult? We can't deal with it. No, we defeated them. And we're going to defeat the real enemy today, which is what? Inside our borders.
Yep.
I want to share with you, I want to give you some ammunition, okay? Because we've got to win the next one, and we've got to win it big. We've got to win it so big that this radicalized party that thinks it's okay to have open borders, to change the Constitution, to get rid of the Supreme Court, to mutilate young girls and boys as sacrifices on the altar of their transgender insanity. We have to so crush them at the next election that they collapse. The Democrat Party has to collapse, because the Democrat Party today is not the party of your father or grandfather. JFK, Scoop Jackson would not be allowed into today's Democrat Party. So we have to cause an utter annihilation, and it's up to us. Seriously, it is up to us. But let me share with you just one data point. These are the kinds of things you need to use when you're talking to your friends who don't do politics or think, hey, Uncle Joe's so nice. That president, he's just such a nice old man. I did a little bit of math for my last Sunday show on Newsmax, the Gorka reality check. Because my thing is national security. I'm a wonk. I eat, drink, and dream national security. If you take every war we have fought in since the end of World War II, so from 45 to today, you can add up every soldier, airman, marine, sailor, and Coast Guard who has died. Whether it's Korea, Vietnam, First Gulf War, Second Gulf War, Afghanistan, you can add it all up. The number of total killed in action, total in 70 years, is 103,000. 103,000 Americans died wearing the cloth of the Republic to keep you safe. On Biden's CDC website, you can look it up right now. It's very hard to find because they don't want you to find it. On Biden's CDC website, you can find this stat. In the last 12 months in America, deaths by fentanyl poisoning totaled 110,000 Americans. More Americans have been murdered by Chinese fentanyl in the last year because of Biden's open border than have died in every war since we won the Second World War. That is why I tell you right now, the enemies are out there. I get it. I get it. Xi Jinping in China, the mullahs in Iran, Putin in the Kremlin, I get it. But the biggest threat we face are our fellow Americans who do not believe in America. We are living in a time that no civilization has ever survived. It is utterly perverse. As a guy who lacks history, think of this. Can you imagine any regime, I don't care if it's an ancient empire, a city-state, a kingdom, any regime in history, any part of the world, that was run by people who hate the country they're running? It's perverse. Why would you run to be the president of a country you detest? Remember Obama said, we're moments away from fundamentally changing America. Do you want to fundamentally change something that you love? No. Try that with your wife, gentlemen. I love you, but I want to fundamentally change you. Little nip and a tuck here, little, you know. Yeah, get back to me, how that works out. You don't want to fundamentally change something you love? And here's the sad thing, we're all concerned. I grew up under Maggie Thatcher. Maggie Thatcher's my heroine, right? I was in the UK, living in the time of Maggie, looking at Ronnie here, and I just, wow, this is conservatism for me. Call me a paleocon, right? OG conservatism. But today, it's not even about politics. Take away the letter R after your name. Let's not talk about the GOP. Oh, by the way, can I just get a little bit political for a second? Will you let me? Can we be clear that my boss in 2015 won despite the GOP, not thanks to the GOP? Can we just, on the record, please? So, it's not about politics. It's not about R or D. The dividing line in America today is one thing. It's just one thing. Do you love America? Or do you hate it?
Yes.
Do you love America as the greatest nation on God's earth, or do you hate it? I know you do, but what are you going to do to make sure we keep it? Yes. Well, what does fight mean? Come to CPAC, write a check for the local congressman? No, no. I'm deadly serious now. I'm going to leave you on this. If you are not running for local office, I don't care if it's the local library board. If you're not running for local office, you are helping the Democrats. End of story. End of story. If my wife, who hates politics, detests politics because she's sane, can come to me 2 years ago and say, love, I'm running for the local community center board. I said, you mean you're asking my permission, right? Because you've read St. Paul's letter, right? About why. No, she said, oh, I've registered, I've got the signatures, I'm running. And what? You're running? You hate politics! She said, oh yeah, I hate it. When I saw them in the local library have a drag queen story hour for kids, I said, that's it. We're not having sexually explicit, perverse things for children. I'm running for the school board. If my wife, Katie Gorka, can do that, then what the hell are you doing to save America? Right, guys, get busy. God bless you. Let's make 24 the biggest victory in conservative history.
Yeah! Woo! Woo!
Please welcome former Department of Defense Chief of Staff, Kash Patel, Senior Writer for American Greatness, Julie Kelly, Producer and Director at AMDC Films, Amanda Milius, and your moderator, host of Human Events Daily, Jack Posobiec.
All right. Good morning, CPAC. Good morning, National Harbor. Good morning, Patriots. You know, it's early in the morning, but that's okay, because as Amanda said backstage, the clip doesn't know what time it is, so eventually at some point we'll be watching back later on this, but it's amazing to see everybody here. It's amazing to see everyone's smiling faces and Amanda. And it's great to see so many people here this morning, but I always say this when I speak at CPACs, I almost wish we didn't have to be here. You know what I mean? Because I wish we could just be living our lives. I wish we could be raising our families, being with our kids, going to church, Easter's coming up. I wish that we could be focusing on those things. But unfortunately, we are dealt with a situation in which we were all born into. We were born into a situation where we have an out-of-control government, an out-of-control administrative state, an out-of-control swamp, which we are currently within smelling distance of right now. I don't know if you guys smell that wafting over. No, that's not East Palestine, that's Washington, D.C. So I just wanted to kind of go down the line here and just top line, if you could pick, your one main priority, and we'll just kind of go in order as we're sitting here, for taking on the deep state, taking on the swamp, because I want to empower not just the politicians, not just the lawmakers, but the people, right? Because CPAC is all about power to the people. So Kash Patel, what can people do to get active in this fight?
Besides buy your book.
Besides watch Plot Against the President.
Other than, yeah.
listen to Pozo. So this is an amazing panel.
Get that out of the way.
And,
buy the books, listen to the podcast.
The deep state is something that, like Jack was saying, not only did we wish we didn't have to do this, I wish we didn't have to address a deep state. Yeah. That's something that you're talking about in like tyrannical dictatorships. But in 2023 America, you have a two-tier system of justice that was created by the very people that were supposed to serve you and create an equal tier system of justice. I mean, Julie is the expert on how the January 6th defendants have been mistreated and how their due process rights have been violated. So the way that I think you crack the deep state is personnel. And it's not necessarily a fault of the last Trump administration, because what did they do? They were never in politics. They came in and said, okay, you guys have been in government 15, 20 years. We're supposed to be able to rely on you for being, whether it's Republican or Democrat, to do the national security mission, to do the America First mission, to put the interests of Americans first. And some of those people, a lot of them, unfortunately, we just got it wrong. So I think the bench, I want to highlight this, the bench exists. The people are there for every agency and department. And I got so motivated behind it that I wrote a book called Government Gangsters, which the deep state is actually trying to prevent the release of that manuscript. But we're going to take them to court. It'll hopefully be out this spring. And you got to educate everyone. I list every single government gangster by agency and department. But the one thing Donald Trump taught me was don't just highlight the problem. What's the solution? How do we fix the FBI, DOJ, and the swamp and every other agency? And it starts with personnel and it ends with congressional oversight. And hopefully that's something that's ramping up.
And that means getting the right people in office who understand exactly what Kash is talking about. I want to see congressional candidates that have your book with notes and highlights and underlines and dog ears and everything. Some people think that's...
Not with the RNC we have now.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that. Julie Kelly, though. And by the way, congratulations to Julie Kelly, because of your yeoman's work on the Jan 6 issue. Seriously, give it up for her. I want people to understand that in the dark days, in Jan 7th, Jan 8th, Jan 9th, I'll tell you something. Everybody knows I'm on Twitter constantly. I didn't even tweet those days because I didn't know what was going on. I went 3 days without tweeting.
Now that is a national emergency.
We didn't know what was happening. The censorship hammer was coming down. People were getting arrested left and right, and there was one person that stood up and said, "What's going on is wrong," and that was Julie Kelly.
Where are they going to go? Who's liable for it? When you buy a Tesla, do you buy the battery too and the liability, or does someone else have it? And looking at the supply chain vulnerability, this is why fossil fuels are so important, because we own the supply chain. And if we do it right, America will prosper.
Governor, can I turn to you as a public land state? I think you're 60% owned by the federal government, is that right? Owned and or controlled. Unfortunately. And it's a horrible landlord, I understand. I don't think Americans really appreciate what it's like to have the federal government as your lord and overseer on so much of what you do. Tell us about Idaho, tell us about your energy capabilities and what is possible if the federal government would get out of the way.
Well, actually, Congressman Zinke talked about cobalt, and the largest cobalt reserves in this country is in Idaho. And we actually have one mine open. We're trying to do another one, but they're taking baby steps. But, you know, the regulatory hurdles that both of these secretaries were lowering went up disproportionately faster under this new administration. Dave and I were talking backstage. There's so much work that needs to be done from a regulatory state. Idaho's the least regulated state in the nation. My first year, for every new regulation, I got rid of 40, and today we have zero-based regulation. And the reason Idaho's growing so fast is because we've freed those regulatory bonds from the very smallest individual entrepreneur to the largest company to be successful, just the opposite of what the federal government's doing right now. And so, you know, the big acts, Water Act, Clean Air Act, Endangered Species Act, and NEPA, the reform that needs to take place there. And every one of those was passed with good intentions, but different administrations and different Justice Department and different lawsuits have made them where they're totally unworkable. And Dave was doing more to change that around and got interrupted prematurely on a very wise task. So all of us, to make the federal estate work, to make energy independence, to make critical minerals available, need to be focused like a laser on reducing that regulatory friction going forward.
I appreciate that. I don't think Americans realize that the United States is the world's only energy superpower. We are the top in production for oil, for natural gas, for coal, and nuclear, and we're second in wind and solar. And it would not have happened between the time 2015, 2016, when our industry started to coordinate with the governors and with the Interior to get to that point. We are an energy superpower, and we are at risk for losing that. David, give us an idea of what the federal asset is actually like, what the real potential and capability is, what is at risk if we do this wrong.
Well, I was really lucky to work with Secretary Zinke and President Trump, and what they really did is in the early 2000s, fracking and other technological innovations fueled by entrepreneurship led to a dramatic increase in production of energy on private lands. And in 2016, when the election took place, Secretary Zinke, President Trump, and myself, and many others, took the model and success that had been on private lands and drove it forward on federal lands. And we have a tremendous federal mineral and energy wealth, tremendous. And what you see is within a few years, 2019, 2020, incredible increases. And now we have the fewest acres leased. We have a very small number of permits coming out at a very small time. And they just simply turned the dial. Now, the great thing about that, in my opinion, is that means that we can, with a few important criteria, unleash that energy potential. What it takes is a strong executive who sees the vision of energy dominance. It takes leaders who are willing to charge up the hill to drive change. And what we have to recognize this time around is the bureaucracy thinks that they have completely won with this current administration. They have won. And so the fight going forward in the next administration to drive change will require more aggressive action, more thoughtful action, and stronger spines of steel. And thank you, Secretary Zinke, for showing me that leadership and allowing me to drive that change forward.
Well, welcome back to Maryland, CPAC.
Love you.
We're so excited to be here, and this is such an important time for conservatives to come together. And I'll tell you why. The left has told us something that should put fear in the heart of every parent, and not just parents, every single person. They've said they're coming for our children.
No.
I don't know about you, but when it comes to kids, I think the Republican Party has a duty. We have a responsibility, and that is to be the party that protects children. Now, whether it's like Zelensky saying he wants our sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, whether it's the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir literally singing, "We're coming for your children," or it's the new disturbing ideology that tells the most incredible lie that children can actually change their gender before they've even grown up, before they've even finished puberty, before they've developed into an adult, before they're old enough to vote, before they're old enough to graduate from high school, before they're old enough to even get a tattoo, put ink permanently on their skin, before they're old enough to buy nicotine, before they're old enough to buy alcohol, before they even graduate from high school, many of them before they drive a car. Now, when I ran for Congress, I thought I was running for Congress to rein in the out-of-control spending in Washington, to defend our southern border, to fight against the radical left and their ideas of bigger government, more control, to stop funding foreign wars that never do anything for America but send our soldiers back home either in coffins or with PTSD. I thought I was fighting for conservative values, to support businesses and give our kids a future. But on day one, when I was sworn into Congress and we voted on the rules package, and that was last Congress, our speaker was Nancy Pelosi. And to my shock, we had a new rule in our rules package. And that was, there was no more gender. You couldn't say family names, mother, father, sister, brother. You couldn't acknowledge he, she, him, her, because gender was no longer in existence. We had a big fight on the Equality Act, where I ended up putting a sign outside my office door that said there's only two genders, male and female, trust the science. But who knew this would become an even bigger battle? But then I started to learn about an industry that is turning into a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they have a target, or should I say a victim. You see, their target is not adults that, adults can choose what they want to do. This isn't about adults. We're talking about people under the age of 18. Their target for their multi-billion-dollar industry are children. And everyone knows that when you're growing up, think about it. How many times did you say when you were a kid you wanted to be a fireman or a doctor or a police officer? It's not just a Republican idea, because people like Bill Maher agree with me on this issue, even though he attacks me. There's independents, Democrats, Republicans all over America that agree that we need to let kids be kids.
Yep.
Woo-hoo.
Woo!
And while I'm still committed to saying no money to Ukraine, and that country needs to find peace,
Yes!
Cameron directly tell Zelensky, you better leave your hands off of our sons and daughters because they're not done. I will also inform the lion that looks to devour, and that lion is looking to devour our children, that our God is bigger. And our God is the God that created us, man and woman. In his image, he created us. And our God is the God that created our children. And because of him, we will get this bill passed, and the Republican Party will be the party that protects children from such an evil that I cannot believe it exists in this time. Thank you so much, everyone. Listen, call to action. Call to action. I'm introducing my bill next week. Call every single member of Congress and tell them to get on the Protect Children's Innocence Act. Thank you so much to Matt Schlapp and CPAC for endorsing my bill.
Bạn đông phía sợ không có gì, bây giờ đi với đó trong một tiêu phát tham kìa. Bạn đông phía sợ không? Đây là khu vực của Neil đó. Em post tham nè, cái này.
I think we had like people do
Lâu nữa sợ nữa. Bắt cô nhận đến.
Are you stuck together?
Chị thấy không? Phía bên ngoài là vậy á, bên trong thì mọi người speaker, mà bên ngoài là quý vị thấy view để sợ không? Tất cả các đại biểu, tất cả các đại biểu đều là
You know someone good because I've seen this woman. She was on the program. She, you know how it is. And they have to switch it around. I'm sorry. I can't believe you're 6'2". How tall is Douglas? Douglas is 6'5". He's short. He's 6 feet. So have you been here a long time? So
Isn't the
did you
parents'
hear any
rights to make
speeches
these
or anything?
rất là đông.
And education. And when you take education, and for example, if that generation is completely indoctrinated, we're not going to have economy, we're not going to have health, and anything else is not going to work.
By the way, we have a great guest here. It's one of the real hardcores from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Let the audience know who you are and how you have fought, how hard you fought for Donald J. Trump.
My name is Patty Wyman. I am the RNC National Committee woman for Virginia.
Hold on, Patty was one of the true warriors. You were one of the earliest. You were one of the earliest to come out for President Donald J. Trump back when he was candidate Trump.
I got on the Trump train at the end of 2015. We worked like crazy for him. We desperately need him. My fight right now has been at the Republican National Committee. I just came back from the winter meeting that we had, and despite the fact that 100% of the grassroots in this country opposed the re-election of Ron McDaniel, despite that fact, 111 of my colleagues voted to quadruple down on Ron McDaniel's.
Wow, đi vòng ra tới bên này luôn đi. Quá trời đông.
Not yet. You know how to do it. You download the CPAC app, and at the bottom it says Paul Housing is total support to raise mushrooms. Count all the supporters to do it.
I'm going to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
FBN bao nhiêu? Mình đang còn interview trong trên cái đài này.
Alright, there we go. I love it. It's got big stomach.
I already got one of those. Save a tree.
Đây là tổ chức cái gì? Korea, tất cả những cái channel of the world luôn đó quý vị. Wow. Quý vị thấy không? Một cái tổ chức, một cái CPAC rất là lớn lao như vậy đó, tất cả các đài đều về đây luôn. Đông lắm.
Wow. It's a dangerous place to be. We had a great place at a great
Wow, tuyệt vời luôn phải quý vị ha. Đây là news cái gì, tất cả các đài news đều tập trung về đây, cả thế giới luôn á. Tổ chức một cái CPAC như vậy, và tất cả thế giới về đây để mà dự một cái CPAC như vậy thì quý vị biết là tổ chức cái quy mô nó lớn lao như thế nào. Wow, rất tuyệt vời.
That started in Japan.
Rất là tuyệt vời. Đây là cái đài FBN này quý vị.
You're fine, you're fine.
John Jr. John Jr. mới tới.
Bye again.
John Jr. mới tới.
Have to look at some multi-thousand page piece of legislation that spends $1.7 trillion, where you got to vote for the VA at the same time you're voting for the Department of Education, where you're having to vote for the equipment for our troops at the same time you're voting for the woke policies of the Department of... Shared with us these things. And yesterday, Judiciary Democrats put out a smear piece on him. They took really out of context portions of his testimony, and they tried to discredit what he shared with us as a whistleblower because he's a vaccine skeptic. And because when the FBI left him without pay, without the ability to earn other income, there were people who gave him a few $1,000s so that he was able to buy a winter coat for his children and be able to meet the month's bills. So we have an active case where we're working to corroborate this information, to build the evidence, and Democrats are obstructing the investigation. And so it is no longer time to go back to the old, low-energy, Paul Ryan, Trey Gowdy days of fake oversight. These are the Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz days. To remove the Democrats from our investigation. They shouldn't be allowed to send any depositions and hear the evidence that they are going to use that to try to get in the way of thorough, rigorous oversight. And I don't believe that means hearings where we yell at people. I think that means a fundamental reshaping of this government, a reshaping of this town. I know every time I give talks like this and meet with our great activists, I always get a question at some point where people say, do you still have hope? Can we even still save this thing? This great experiment? And I know we can. And here's what I would say. Even though at your job it may feel like you're outnumbered, sometimes even in your social groups, it may feel like you can't wave your MAGA flag at full mast. But I saw what a group of parents did in Loudoun County who at first were outnumbered. I saw what pilots did at Southwest Airlines who stood up against the vaccine mandate. I saw what Navy SEALs did who got injunctions so that now we are in a position to, in a Republican House of Representatives, restore every one of our military patriots with their full right and back pay. All of you saw what 20 members of the House of Representatives did when we demanded change in a corrupt town. These are different times. They are new times. They call for boldness and patriotism. It is the honor of my life to fight alongside each and every one of you. Go to MattGaetz.com. Join my fight. Vote for Donald J. Trump and the CPAC story.
They say COVID is finally over, according to everyone in the government. So here's what I want to start with. There's been this new word or acronym that's kind of come into the lexicon, ESG. I want to know, Andy, I want to start with you. You ran a big company, Carl's, or CKE, which includes Carl's Jr. and several other restaurants. When and why did this come into society?
Well, I would say good news for me, it came in about 2016, 2017 with any kind of force, because that was the year I retired, so I didn't really have to deal with it. But it really came in about then, right around the time of the Paris Climate Accord, where corporations started to get pressure from above, and above would be their shareholders, and in this case, companies like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, which are trillion-dollar private investment firms. They manage monies for pension funds, for state pension funds, private pension funds. They manage 401k plans. And literally BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard combined are the largest shareholder in 80% of the companies in the S&P 500. BlackRock alone would be the largest, first, second, or third largest shareholder in those companies. So they adopted this ESG, environmental, social, and governance policy, where you invest not based on a company's financial performance, but based on how well they are accomplishing these leftist progressive
But just to be
goals.
clear, it came from shareholders, not employees. That's where this largely got driven from?
Yeah, it started with these large investment firms shoving these policies down on the companies in which they invested. And if you're the CEO of a company, you answer to the board, and the board is elected by the shareholders. So they're all very conscious of what these large shareholders will do. This is, they went after Exxon. They actually put 3 environmentalists on the board of Exxon. Within a few months, Exxon had a net zero carbon emissions policy. Now, does anybody out there think that Exxon having a net zero carbon emissions policy is in its financial interest or the interest of its shareholders? No. No, you have to be an idiot to think that. Well, this is exactly what the left has been selling, and fairly.
Welcome. Is everybody having a good time at CPAC? It's a great crowd, another great program. I'm really privileged to have Molly and Chairman Comer with me today. Let's get right to it. Mr. Chairman, first to you. I don't know that there's anybody in this crowd, but maybe there's somebody outside that's paying attention to this. Why in the world should we even be interested in this investigation? The Oversight Committee has begun on the Biden family, and what's the end game? What legislation or what fixes are you anticipating coming up with?
Everybody should be concerned because this is a threat to our national security. I mean, we all agree in Washington, even the Democrats, that China is our biggest threat. And what the average American is concerned about is China taking over the world. Every American was watching those balloons go over. They're angry that China's buying farmland. But what we're finding out is part of what the Biden family influence peddling involved was the Biden family were trying to work with China to get their foot in the door in the American energy industry, to try to help them not only buy liquefied natural gas, but also to buy ownership in the drillers. So this is an instance where our energy industry is a significant threat to our national security. And who was helping China navigate the federal bureaucracy? The Biden family. So we need to try to get to the bottom of this, and I think the American people deserve the truth. And at the end of the day, there will be a legislative fix. We're going to fix this to where there's a clear line as to what a family member can do with respect to a president of the United States as far as doing business overseas, and to increase the ethics and transparency laws to where this never happens again.
Molly, the chairman mentioned a threat to national security. How big a threat is it? And yeah, I mean, you've followed this story about as close as anybody I know, and for as long as anybody I know. How big a threat to national security? How deep in the Biden family does it go? We all know about Hunter. We know a little bit about Joe. What else is there to dig into?
Right. People are familiar with some of Hunter Biden's business dealings. But I don't know if they understand how much the entire Biden family has been involved in this pay-to-play operation for many, many years. So it's not just Hunter, it's also most prominently Joe's brother James, who's been involved in some, he's been investigated as well for some of the pay-to-play schemes that he's been involved with, or alleged pay-to-play schemes. But also other family members, nieces, and it goes beyond that. The reason why it's interesting is precisely for what Chairman Comer said. The way that the Biden family has made money is by collecting funds from foreign governments or oligarchs, compromised people, in exchange for favors to be named later. This of course affects the American people, and it happens to be that a lot of their business has been in China and in Ukraine and other places where we have every right to know exactly what was traded, exactly what was going on, and how it has affected American national security.
Mr.
How much do we love this country? Yes, we do. And thank you to Mercedes and Matt Club for having us all here. An incredible group of fearless patriots. And we are just getting started. And thank you all for joining the conversation and being part of the conservative solutions to returning our country to prosperity, for growing the America First movement, and for wanting to make America great again. We are gathered here at our nation's capital at an inflection point in our nation's history, a point where Joe Biden, the Democrats, big tech, and their willing allies in the media are hell-bent on taking their far-left agenda mainstream. And frankly, destroying all of our lives. But we're not going to let them do it, are we? No. That's right. We're going to say no to open borders chaos, defunding, police disasters, attacks on U.S. energy independence, surrendering to climate alarmists, reckless spending, turning our schools into far-left indoctrination centers, no more lockdowns, lawlessness, far-left lunacy, censoring viewpoints who dissent, and then, of course, calling you a bigot if you dare to question any of it. Did I miss anything? Under Joe Biden, yeah, there's a lot more, right, Matt? Under Joe Biden, sadly, we are a nation in decline, a nation sowing doubt among our allies, and a nation emboldening our biggest adversaries. Remember the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan, which would have never happened under President Trump, where we abandoned our fellow Americans, surrendered to the Taliban as chaos ensued. Did Joe Biden take responsibility for any of it? No. Has this administration ever accepted blame for any of their delusional, destructive, diabolical, and dangerous actions? No. We all know the answer. And it's why we are here at CPAC. Because all of us in this room have speech, free markets, freedom to pursue your own happiness, freedom to accomplish your goals without the heavy hand of government getting in the way. Now remember, this country was founded on an experiment of self-governance and democracy, and we became the greatest force for good the world has ever seen. But now more than ever, there are nefarious forces at work to make us apologize for it, to make us ashamed for what we should be proud of. Because remember what this is all really about for the left. It is about undermining your ability to make the decisions that are best for you and for your family. It's about getting you to surrender your dignity and entitlement to a state that runs on never-ending victimhood. And it's about silencing and censoring anyone who dares to speak out. It's why we together have to and we will stand strong and remind our fellow Americans what this country really stands for and what its full potential really is. And the good news is conservatives all across the country are rising up to meet the moment, registering new voters, running for school board, battling for our children, and battling for our future. We are the backbone demanding action and accountability. The backbone demanding that government be responsive to the needs of hard-working, common-sense Americans. Because the time for real accountability is long past due, and the time for action could never be more urgent. We have to remind ourselves that our mission does not come without responsibility. It's why I'm here at CPAC. It's why now more than ever, free and independent voices are so valuable. It's why I have a new show on Rumble where facts come first and where news is done right. They cannot cancel or censor us. We have to be relentless in the battle to protect and preserve the American dream. And it's why I am so proud, deeply proud to introduce our next incredible speaker, who shows no fear, who stands up to the left-wing rage mob every single day, who is America first always, and who stands shoulder to shoulder with all of us in our quest to take this country forward, take this country on the road to prosperity, and to take this country to a place where we can and we will, say it with me, make America great again. And here now, at some of the 45th and I think 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump Jr.
Things only go one way. You know, so go check out Public Square. Check out MXM. Support those businesses that support your values. Put their kids through soccer camp and soccer practice rather than funding, 10-month abortions. Some of the insanity that we see on the other side. You have a choice. Exercise it. The other side is, they're willing to do it. They don't even care anymore. I put this. Another perfect example. Glenn Story, right here from Patriot Mobile. I promise you, folks, raise your hand if you don't have a phone. I gotta keep my phone away because I know, I'm on every FBI list imaginable, so I just gotta keep it away because, they're gonna drone me one day. You all have a phone. You all are going to use it. Well, you can give your money to AT&T, who has in the last month tried canceling Newsmax, who the month prior to that took off OAN out of millions of homes. The parent company is actively attacking conservative mindset. Again, nothing extreme. It's Newsmax and LAN. It's just the stuff that we all believe. That's extreme. We can't let them even have an opinion. We can't let them have a voice. So if you're gonna have a phone, you can give your money to AT&T and watch it get weaponized against everything that you believe, or you can go to Patriot Mobile. It's that simple. But we have to start thinking this way, folks, because if we don't, it's over. It's not just about the political landscape. We discussed ballot harvesting again. That's number one. Right? There's a reason you can win House seats because it's so localized, but you can't win the national because you can't go to California. There are people in Pennsylvania, I guarantee you, that have no idea who was even running for the United States Senate that voted. That's true, of course. Because you could not listen. If you listen for 5 seconds to anything John Fetterman, you said, okay, he's clearly unfit for office. That's not, you don't have to be a doctor to be maybe there's something wrong. The Democrats knew he had these issues, and they ran him anyway. By the way, they had someone who I probably don't agree with on anything, but was at least able to function. Maybe not quite as radical, Connor Lamb. They could have ran him, but they knew even in the primary that this guy had these issues, and they ran him anyway because they want a radical extremist that wants to release murderers. This is the party of the left today. There are still incredible, great, moderate Democrats in America, but they have no one representing them. Because you can't win if you don't espouse the lunacy of the left today. You can't get the California, New York, Soros money, whatever it may be, and win. You see the prosecutor just this week who misgendered a biological male in San Francisco, I guess it was, and Soros-funded George Gascon, punished this prosecutor for misgendering a child rapist. The child rapist doesn't really need the punishment. The prosecutor who misgendered him is the one that needs to be taught a lesson. That is America under Joe Biden. That is America under Democrats. That is an America that none of us recognize, and it's an America that's going to stay that way if we don't fight back and say enough is enough. So guys, that's our message. We need a president that is not owned by other people. Right? There's a reason the billionaire class, even the billionaire conservative news class, wants someone other than Trump. It's because they want someone that needs them to take their call. You know, there's a lot of the billionaire class, even on the Republican side. It's like, yeah, we're really hard on China, but like, don't be that hard. No, like we still want our widget for a quarter-cent cheaper, and we'll destroy the American middle class to do so. Make no mistake. I want the guy that doesn't need to take that call, that isn't entirely beholden to them, that is showing up to speak to the people, not showing up to speak to those who would rather go much softer on China. We didn't need this job to begin with. My father certainly didn't. It was a lot easier to shut the hell up for me and be a real estate developer from New York. Unfortunately for the Democrats, and many rhinos, that is not our style. So guys, don't forget to vote in the CPAC poll, but most importantly right now, vote with your wallets. Support those who are supporting you. Help them engage in the battle for our future and for our very existence. Because if you don't think that it's on the table, you have not been watching. Thank you very much, CPAC.
How will they view this world? And whether it's critical race theory, woke ideology that permeates every nook and crevice of our society, or an educational system failing at even ensuring that our students meet the most basic standards of reading and math. Man, do we have some work cut out for us here in America. It's time for our leaders, from moms and dads on the school board all the way up to the President of the United States, to stand up for our future by standing up for our kids. That's what we need to be doing in this country right now. No child should be forced to go to a failing school, period. School choice should be afforded to every single American family to ensure that we hold our schools accountable for our children's education. Right? Seems pretty basic. Remote learning was bad enough for our kids, for their education and their development. Now these woke teachers want them to memorize 50 different genders and sexualities. You got pronouns. It's too much for kids to handle. No child should be learning about anything sexual from a teacher, period. And no school in the United States of America should ever teach our kids to hate our country.
Yes.
They should not be teaching a single child that one race is superior or inferior to another. They should ensure that our children grow up knowing how truly blessed they are to live in a country that guarantees the equality, not of the outcome, but the equality of the opportunities we have here in the greatest country on the face of the earth. I gotta to tell you guys, it's been quite a ride for our family. An interesting one, of course. 6 years ago, don't forget, no one gave Donald Trump a chance to become president of the United States. People thought it was a joke, a publicity stunt. No one ever thought it would actually happen. Once he became the 45th president, those same people worked overtime to get rid of him and get in his way at every single turn. And despite it all, despite everything he had coming at him, look at what he achieved. And don't forget, look at what they took away from all of us, right? Because we would not be in the situations we are right now in the United States of America with Donald J. Trump as president. We all know that. And 2020, I think, was tough. That was a tough time. Tough to have a guy who campaigned out of his basement, who had the mainstream media bolstering him at every possible turn, and a guy who inspired absolutely zero people declared the 46th president of the United States. I don't think anybody in this room was pretty pleased with that. No. But a wise man once said, sometimes by losing a battle, you find a new way to win the war.
Wow.
Now that wise man, of course, was my father-in-law, the 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Yep. Woo! Good, go! And 2024.
My friends, our fight to save America has only just begun. And I can promise you that no matter what, and no matter how long it takes, our family and my father-in-law, Donald Trump, will be here fighting alongside you every single step of the way.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know about you guys here, but 2024 cannot come soon enough.
A politicized history of America fronted by the teachers' unions will lock parents out of our schools. And they'll keep so-called gender transitions hidden from parents. This is immoral, this is evil, and it is dangerous. Families may not pass freedom on in the blood, but as President Reagan said, they're the surest and most effective place to raise a generation that is proud to call America home. For me, most crucially, and I think for everyone in this room today, freedom is the story of the capacity of us to practice our faith, our religion. We were founded by religious people seeking that freedom. Let's never walk away from it. When the bars are open and the churches are closed, this is not an America any of us know or love. Christians, Jews, Muslims, being pressured to abandon their beliefs that have been central to their faith for millennia. Small business owners being forced to do things that are inconsistent with their faith, to choose between their faith and their livelihood. We can't let this happen. I worked terribly hard as Secretary of State, and we did good work on religious freedom around the world and here at home. It's a shame. It's a shame that that freedom here at home is under assault in ways that it is in other parts of the world as well. But we know this. They can cancel some things. You're not going to cancel God. Not happening. We can never, and I know none of you will ever give an inch in making sure that this American miracle, this faith, this capacity to worship in the way we choose is at the bedrock of who we are. We've made it clear, the American people have made it clear. It is not enough to say we're different from liberals. We need to be different. We need to act differently. When I walked the halls today and got a chance to meet you, we are different. We're defined by our commitments and our words and our deeds. We need true believers who understand the stakes of our fight and who are unafraid to act on it. It requires men and women who are fierce, like everyone in this room today. I know you wouldn't be here if you didn't believe these things. I'm entrusting you, I'm empowering you. Go do it every place you go, in your workplace, at your schools, at the PTA meeting, at the Little League Park. Talk about the very things you talk about when you're in the halls of this place today. I believe a conservative return to what matters
will get us back to the right places. I'm convinced that we can do it. We sometimes hear each other talk and we get pretty down. We watch the things that are going on and we become more timid. We must do just the opposite. The American miracle is powerful. You are part of it. You will lead us back to the right place. We are going to restore a conservative America that has at its core our founding ideas of our Judeo-Christian tradition. The fight has started. We're in it. There's no turning back. We have a responsibility to act consistently that every day and stay in the fight. I'll always do that. I know you'll join me. God bless you, and may God bless the great nation of the United States of America. Thank you.
Trời buổi tối đẹp quá trời luôn. Bà con nó còn tấp nập chuẩn bị ready cho tối nay.
Oh, look at the lights! Oh my gosh, it's so pretty.
It's
so beautiful. It is so pretty. I love this video.
Buổi tối là chuẩn bị cho một buổi dinner này, tấp nập luôn. Tối này nó có nhiều cái event nhỏ để mà một bên thì dinner, một bên thì tổ chức cho những cái dịp khác, quý vị, rất là đông. Wow. Em có ra hướng này nè em. Đó. Ready cho dinner tối nay quý vị. Quý vị thấy không? Phía dưới này quý vị biết không? Tối là em đi quay rồi đó, nó có một cái bar và những cái nhà hàng kế bên đó, nó giống như một cái house nhỏ đó quý vị, rất là đẹp luôn. Wow. Những bạn nhỏ người ta ngồi ghế dinner. Giờ này là 6 giờ rồi quý vị mà mọi người vẫn còn làm việc. Neil vẫn còn làm việc này quý vị ơi. Ngày mai là big day luôn á. Ok. Mọi người vẫn là ready. Thì xuống hỏi người ta nè. Đi ăn mà get like vậy đó. Vô đây get like tiếp. Mình vô bên này nè em, tới đâu này nè. Đó, trời đi ăn mà get like quá trời vậy, đông nữa. Đông quá trời luôn. Đi ăn quý vị, get like chờ ăn mà vậy hết. Hello em. Cuối cùng là chúng ta có ngồi một buổi dinner ha.
Chỉ có đi về mới được sang trọng đó, được ăn.
Được dự dinner tại CPAC luôn quý vị. Ok. Quý vị thấy không, CPAC rất là lớn nha. Đứng đây cho quý vị thấy nha. Nguyên một cái ballroom này á, là ban ngày á, thì speaker nha. Nhưng mà tối nay á, thì dành cái nguyên cái ballroom này luôn để mà đãi một đêm dinner. Người ta gọi là Reagan dinner quý vị. Đó. Quá tuyệt vời luôn bạn quý vị. Yeah. Nghe không? Yeah, quý vị, hôm nay là dinner tại CPAC. Mọi người đang còn cho tập trung ăn quý vị, rất là đông. Đấy, mình đó quý vị, vegan dinner. Ngon miệng nha. Xíu mình sẽ ăn món đầu tiên là món salad. Yes sir.
Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to play a special video if you guys would just pay attention. It's very meaningful. Play the video.
Now the last 4 letters in Republican is I can. I can. Think about it, y'all. Think about it. I can. Yeah. I can think for myself. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. Yes, I can. And I can obtain the American dream. Yes, I can.
Ladies and gentlemen, Silk.
Thank you all. Yes, I can. I can think for myself, and I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. You all, Dynamite, have fought the fire, but I am going to stoke the flames. And my plans is to burn down this corrupt system. Woo! This system that's been plaguing our country. This system that's been putting its knee on our neck. I plan to do that. My sister died on the hills of wanting to save America. And you all, I plan to carry the torch. I plan to carry the torch and continuing the process of saving America. I just want to say thank you all. Thank you all for the love. Thank you so much. Thank you for remembering me, for inviting me. I really, truly do appreciate it. And Diamond, we're here, girl. Look where we at. I love you, sis. I love you, sis. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
We love you, Sil.
Then I've got a friend who can do just that. His name is Donald J. Trump. I don't know about you, but I believe that he can do it in 24 hours like he says. I totally believe that. Because you know why? He's got the experience. He has experience bringing peace to the world. He's done it before. It's not talk with Donald Trump. He's done it. He's got the actions to prove it. He destroyed ISIS. He brokered peace deals in the Middle East. He diffused the threat of a nuclear Korea. And he did that with a tweet, remember? Literally. I'm trying to remember. I think the tweet read something like, my button is bigger than his, and my button works. It's called peace through strength, right? It was a term coined by Ronald and perfected by Donald. And we need to do that again. Right now, I don't even know what Biden's philosophy is. Weakness through, I can't even come up with a slogan. It's just so pathetic and sad. But time and time again with President Donald J. Trump, when it seemed like the world was falling apart, he came in and brought it back together. He had these guys back there attacking him, left and right. He had the swamp going after him, and he was still getting stuff done. And now we have stumbling, bumbling Joe Biden. 81 million votes. My ass. They must think we just fell off the turnip truck. We don't buy it. Don't insult our intelligence. Stolen elections have serious consequences. We know all about it in Arizona. We know all about it in Arizona. So we're feeling the pain of those stolen elections because our corrupt elections, we have a wide open border. We have out of control human trafficking, including child trafficking. We have fentanyl pouring across our border, poisoning our young people. Hardest thing that I ever heard on the campaign trail was when a mother or father would come up to me. And you could spot them from a mile away. You would just see the sadness, the hole, the emptiness. And they would say, I lost my 19-year-old son to fentanyl poisoning. I lost my 20-year-old daughter. She took a half a pill. A half a pill shouldn't kill anyone. They're poisoned, and they're being poisoned by Joe Biden. They're being poisoned by the CCP and the cartels in Mexico. Joe Biden has blood on his hands for this young generation that's being killed right now. That's why they had to steal an election, by the way, because they knew that when I got into office, the first thing we were going to do is shut down that operation at the border. They knew that I meant business. So we have lawlessness on our streets because of stolen elections. We have homeless camps cropping up in every neighborhood in Arizona, and I'm sure wherever you live, you're seeing it as well. This isn't just an Arizona problem. All of the work that moms and dads did in Arizona, as we are on the forefront of education freedom, I don't know if you are aware of this, we brought you charter schools, we brought education freedom to this country in Arizona. We've done a great job. And we've gotten to the point in Arizona where we finally passed where we are actually funding the student and not the system. Amazing. It truly is amazing. It's a game changer. When we have a fraud sitting in office by the name of Katie Hobbs, the squatter, who is trespassing right now in the governor's office, she's trying to dismantle that right now. The will of the people, the will of the parents, she's trying to dismantle that right now. These are the consequences of corrupt, stolen elections. And this is why I continue to speak out no matter what people say. All of these problems that I just mentioned, whether they be domestic or whether they be on a global stage, can be easily solved with common sense, America First solutions. But we cannot have those solutions without honest elections. So you agree with me on that one, right? Because
Convention về đêm quý vị. Wow, đẹp không? Quá tuyệt vời luôn. Đẹp thiệt. Không, cái tiếng nước chảy giống đẹp ghê luôn đó quý vị.
Mình đang dinner đó.
Ta hang out với nhau vậy đó, vui lắm. Với cái bar dưới đó, ngày hôm qua đi vô nghe mùi chicken cũng ngon lắm. Chicken wing. Ừ. Cho nên có cái bar đó ngồi mà chơi buổi tối cũng ok.
Bởi vì tối nay tới 11 giờ luôn.
Quý vị thấy không, buổi tối ở đây đẹp lắm quý vị, mọi người hang out ở đây, ăn uống ở đây. Tại vì cái convention center này rất là lớn quý vị. Tất cả mọi thứ ở đây luôn, rất là tuyệt vời luôn á. Đấy, mọi người ăn uống chơi ở đây là quá đã luôn rồi. Wow. Ok quý vị. giờ xong việc rồi nè, bây giờ kiếm bạn nhậu nè. Giờ không có ai nhậu hết trơn nữa thôi. Video đến đây cũng là nguyên một ngày này rồi quý vị. Thì cũng rất là nhiều việc, quá trời việc luôn. Là đó thì cái từ sáng tới giờ mà đeo theo trong cái CPAC này là tất cả rất là nhiều, nó rất đông lắm. Quý vị thấy không, giờ này mọi người vẫn còn ngồi nè, enjoy nè. Cái bar dinner và ngồi uống như vậy quý vị. Ngày mai là tại vì ngày chính có tổng thống cho nên mọi người lại bây giờ tập trung lại đông lắm. Với lại người ta ở đây để sáng mai người ta get live sớm luôn á. Thành ra nó như vậy đó quý vị. Ok quý vị, một lần nữa. Coi như là một ngày nữa đã qua và ngày mai là ngày cuối cùng quý vị. Ok, một lần nữa xin tạm biệt cả nhà. Hẹn quý vị ngày mai nhé. Có thêm những cái video mới, những clip mới thì em sẽ đăng lên cho quý khán giả cùng quý anh chị, cô bác xa gần cùng theo dõi để cho biết được một cái buổi mà tổ chức cho một cái buổi event cho cái CPAC nó như thế nào trong 4 ngày rất là quan trọng, và tổ chức như thế nào đó thì để cho quý vị khán giả quay và chiêm nghiệm cho thấy được một cái ban tổ chức nó tổ chức được như vậy thì nó rất là hoành tráng quý vị, rất là nó thực sự ra là tất cả các mọi người đều trên thế giới đều có về tham dự luôn đó quý vị. Một cái CPAC tổ chức là như vậy đó. Ok, một lần nữa nên tạm biệt quý vị và good night. Hẹn quý vị ngày mai ạ. Bye bye.